Back to Gloved Up Garage. In this episode, I'm going to try to polish out these headlights and do some little minor things to clean this up a little bit more. These are the original lights. It's kind of cool. They still have the little Mercury emblem in them right there, but I know eventually I'm going to replace them. And again, kind of like what I did on the hood, if I burn through and make these things look worse than they are, I don't think it's possible. They're pretty old, obviously original to the car. They've got, a lot of haze on them, so I'm going to try to polish these out. I have done this once before, many years ago. I had a 95 Cobra, and the headlights on it, kind of the same material. They were pretty nasty, pretty faded up, and hazed over. And I was able to take this kit that I'm going to show you and polish out those to be a whole lot clearer and nicer than what they were. So what I'm using, this is part of what used to be a 3M kit that you could buy. I don't know if they're still available or not, but I got one of these many years ago. But essentially what you have is a part that goes on the drill like this. And it's got a hook and loop backing on it, so this goes in the drill and it spins. And then the first step is one of these orange discs or tan disc. And what this is it's 500 grit sandpaper. And basically what you're doing is you're going to use it to get all of this nasty stuff off, level out the surface, get down to the plastic that's underneath the coating that they put on that. The next step, and they recommend that you do this with water, this is an 800 grit sandpaper, and you would do this to kind of polish out the scratches left by the 500 grit. The next step would be, as soon as I can get it unstuck here, this is actually a 3000, you can kind of see 3000 grit, and it's falling apart, so I'm gonna have to come up with something else. But basically it's a 3000 grit sandpaper, and again, you use it with the water, and you're basically gonna polish out all the scratches left by the 800 grit. And then the final step is to basically polish it out with a microfiber and some polishing compound, which I'll go a little step further than that. I've actually got some polishing compound, and I've got a foam pad that I can use to polish this out. So I do have some 3000 grit sandpaper. Since this thing is it's just coming apart, it's not gonna even hold up to any of the polishing that I'm about to do. And then what I'll do from there is hit it with that microfiber and just clean it up the best that I can. But essentially what I want to do is get some of this haze to go away. So I'm going to run in and grab a spray bottle of water. I'm going to go ahead and do all of the steps up to the polishing with water, just to make sure that I don't leave any sand scratches and just kind of help clean up the process. The bumper is going to get a lot of water and runoff and stuff on it, so I'll go back and clean it later. I taped off my grill, the header panel, and this other light. I mainly just want to focus on the headlight and see where that gets me. So I'm gonna go grab some water. You can hear it's raining in the background, so it's a little noisier, and the goats aren't happy about the rain, even though they've got a shelter out there. For whatever reason, they'd rather stand out in the rain and yell, so you'll hear them in the background. But I'm gonna go grab water and get going with this. Well, I had everything taped off and had full intentions of using those little discs to polish these headlights out. What I found is that these things were so, like the coating on them was so dense that it was clogging up the paper as soon as I started using it. I made multiple passes with 500 grit and got absolutely nowhere. So I pulled the headlights and I got out my dual action DA sander, threw on some 320 and went to town. Finally got through all of that coating, and then went back over top of it with 400 grit sandpaper to kind of polish out the 320 scratches. Went back over top of that with some 600 to give it a good bite and smooth out some of the scratches left over from the 2 previous grits. Now my plan is to use this Duplicolor 1K clear. This is a new spray paint clear that they've got out. I've used it on model cars. It looks really good. And I'm hoping on a bigger application like this headlight, it will lay down just as good as it has on the models that I've painted. Now on this one, you can see that there's still a little bit of a line right around this area here. And that's actually on the inside of the lens. And there's really nothing I can do about it except put the lens into the oven, heat it up, get rid of the adhesive that holds it together, pop these tabs to get the lens out. Far too much work for what I want to do to this. But Basically, I'm just trying to get these things cleared up a little bit more than what they were. My plan is to go get this inspected today. So I'm going to set these headlights outside. I've already cleaned them off and degreased them. I'm going to put them on a board and set them outside in the sun. And then we're going to start laying down some clear, see where that gets us. So I hit them with a couple coats of clear, about 3 coats. And I'm not real happy with the way they turned out. You can see that they're kind of what we would call tiger striped, where you can see the pattern of the spray. That one's not too bad. This one, you can kind of see where it's clear and hazy, clear and hazy. So what I'm gonna have to do, I'll have to polish these things down. I didn't really want to, but I'll wet sand them with about 800 grit and knock some of that orange peel out and hopefully flatten them down a little bit and get them to clear up. But I gotta let them cool off. They've been sitting out in the sun for a couple hours. I was hoping that would flatten out the clear a little bit. I think 2 coats is max on this clear. Anything more than that, I've got about 4 on there. So anything more than that, it looks like it starts to get kind of cloudy and hazy where it's just too much clear for it. These kinds of clears, they dry from the outside in, and when you stack them up like that, the under layers can't cure out enough, which gives you this hazy, what they call like a blush. But I'll get it sanded out, and hopefully we can get them to clear up a little bit and be a little bit more shinier than they are. You know, again, with this one, you can see that hazy spot right in the middle here. That's on the inside lens, not on the outside. So there's really nothing I can do about it. I was just hoping to make these look a little better than what they are. So we'll pick back up after I get to wet sanding these and see if we can bring them back. Okay, so I wet sanded and polished that clear coat down. For being out of the spray can, it's really not that bad of a clear coat. It would probably work better if I didn't put so much on it. So that was 50-50 my fault, 50-50, you know, not the best materials. If I had used a regular clear coat, it probably would have been fine at 2 coats, maybe 3 tops, and I could have just polished it out from there. It is what it is. Spray can, $15 a clear, and you know, a little bit of time to polish these out. They turned out better than what I expected them to. They're much clearer than they were. You know, other than this one over here, it's still got that spot in the middle of the lens from the inside. There's really nothing I can do about that. But for now, this is good. I'm happy with this. They turned out kind of what I expected them to. Not 100% perfect, but the car's not perfect. So it is what it is, and I'm happy with it. So after I was done working on the Marauder headlights, I got a call from an electrician. And what I'm trying to do is add an additional electric service on the property to this garage. And the reason being is there's only 2 circuits over here. I've got 1 circuit for my lights, and I've got another circuit for my outlets. They run over to an adjacent building where we have another sub panel put in. So I don't actually have a sub panel over here. It's just those 2 circuits. I've got this framed out because I need to install, or the electrician's going to install this 40 circuit 200 amp panel. We're going to have another electrical service put in here, 200 amp service, so that I can have welders, I can have my compressor over here and not in the other building. So with this, it took a little bit of thought, a little bit of engineering. Basically what you can see is like this adjacent wall, not adjacent, but the next panel over, you've got these diagonal cross braces. And there was one right here, you can kind of see that mark in the wood where it was, but it ran up here. They don't need to be there once the building is assembled. I had a friend that works in construction quite a bit. He looked at it and he's like, well, you don't really have to have those there. Because my question was, how do I frame around them? He's like, just cut them out. You don't need them. Once the building's up, the siding's on, everything's stable. Basically, those are used to stabilize the building while it's being put together. He's like, you really don't need them anymore, so you can go ahead and take them off. I'm like, great, cool. So that's what I did. I went ahead and cut it out. And in the process of that, there's actually a gap that goes between the inner and the outer header panel. You can see that gap there. And what I did in order to secure that is actually just, cut one down and put it in there. So what I did is once I cut those down into like 1 foot spans, I've got those nailed between the, this is the outer header and then the inner header. And then basically once the studs were lined up, I nailed up through the top plate into that, the little span board. I'm not exactly sure what you want to call it. On this end down here, I did the same thing, mainly because I just felt like it would be better since there's not a stud at the end of this wall that I can attach to the pole. I just went ahead and nailed that up into it between the headers. I'll probably come back and try to do a toenail on this. That gap's pretty wide on that end. Same thing down here at the bottom. It's got a pretty decent gap. I did that on purpose. I went ahead and toe-nailed that one into the pole down there. You can see a couple of nails sticking through. And then I'll do the same thing at the top. And then hopefully that will make it pretty secure. Now I've still got to go through and do my bottoms. And I attempted to do some concrete anchors. You see that one sticking up there. And the same one with that. Not real happy with it. Borrowed a neighbor's hammer drill, drilled down through the concrete. Used a 3.5 inch bit and tried to put the 3 1/4 anchors in. And right before they got, I guess, about a 1/2 inch towards the bottom of the board there, they started to snap off. So that's not going to work. I'm going to use my other method, which is the ram set, which is basically like a little 22 shell that fires a nail into the concrete. I'll pick those up this week. This thing is very sturdy. I mean, it's not moving at all. It's kind of wedged in place anyway, so it's really not going to go anywhere, but this will be good enough to hold this for now. So that'll be it for this video. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. If you see anything that needs to be commented on, please leave a comment for me. You know where the like button is. You know where the subscribe button is by now, so if you guys feel like giving me a subscribe, I'd appreciate it. Stay tuned for the next time. Hopefully I'll have some electric out here on the next video. And I'm going to start working on that door panel video now. It's kind of raining. You can hear the rain in the background. So I'll start working on that one for the next video. I had a lot of people asking how I fixed the door panel on the Marauder. Today's the perfect day to tackle that. So thanks for tuning in. I'll catch you on the next one.